Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about how to change modeling agencies. So if you are a model, there will probably be a point in your career where you might want to change agencies. And I think the number one reason for wanting to change agencies is that you're unhappy with your work. Maybe you're not getting enough work, or maybe the communication between you and your bookers are not the way you want it. Maybe you don't feel comfortable with the agency. There could be many reasons, but I feel like most times the reasons are either because you're not getting enough work or because you're not getting the work that you want to get. And I think the first step into coming to this realization is really listing out the reasons why you want to change agencies, because I do have to say that normally when you sign with the agency you have a contract for 3 years, but at any point you can break the contract. Of course, if there is mutual understanding between you and the agents, that's something that you totally can do. So my experience in this case was that I was signed with the agency in New York. I was with Wilhelmina and I was with them for 3 years. So my contract was almost ending. I think I had maybe like 2 months left. My bookers at Wilhelmina at the time left the agency and I had a great relationship with them. They were the bookers that I already knew since the beginning that I moved to New York. So they left. I continued at the agency, of course, because I already had my clients and I was working well. But something changed when they left. I was working, but I just wasn't getting more jobs that I wanted to get. I continued with my clients that I had, which I was very fortunate to have them, but I wasn't getting any other new jobs. So I decided to talk to my mother agency about it, and we came to the conclusion that it would be a good idea to change agencies. So I think my first tip is really listing out the reasons why you want to change modeling agencies. If you have a mother agent, talk to your mother agent. If you don't have one, you can do that yourself too. And I just hope that everyone knows that you are able to break a contract. They're not enforceable in that way that you cannot leave the agency for 3 years. If you're not getting work, there's always something you can do. And then once you decide to change agencies, I think my other tip would be to research new agencies that you wanna go. My recommendation is to already have an agency that you're pretty much set to go afterwards, just so that you're not out of jobs for however long you would take this process of changing agencies. In my experience, I already had sort of an offer from Elite. My bookers that left Wilhelmina went to Elite, so it was a little easier for me to do that. Yeah, but if, let's say, you're just leaving the agency and you don't have anywhere to go, just really do the research before you decide to leave. And something that really helps is just really, when you're signed with the agency, sometimes you forget to update your portfolio because you're already signed with the agency. You don't really need to be updating your photos all the time or like your digitals. So before you leave an agency, my advice is to prepare your portfolio, prepare your photos that you're going to show to the other agency, and take care of yourself. Make sure you know that you're taking care of your health, your skin, your mental health before you decide to leave. When it comes to communicating with the agency that you want to leave, I think it's really important to be respectful and professional. Talk to them about why. Sometimes they will fight back and want you to stay, but then I feel like it's important to give a timeline. If you do decide to stay and see if things get better at that agency, I think it's really important to give yourself a timeline, like 3 more months, and if I don't feel happier with the jobs that I'm getting, then we can break the contract. I would say 3 months, maybe 6 months even, like to give them another chance in case they don't want to let you go. In my case, it was actually quite simple because I had a good communication with my booker already, and I was already explaining that I wasn't happy with the situation and things weren't getting better. So I think there was a mutual understanding that my contract was gonna finish in 2 months. So we decided to do this break the contract respectfully, and it was actually really smooth. But a third point that you also have to consider is if you have a visa with the agency that you're currently signed on. If you're an international model that it's not a US resident, most likely you have an O1 visa, which is the special ability visa that the models get when they work in the US as a model. And normally the agency that sponsors your visa has that visa as the sponsor of the visa. Normally the agency that sponsors your visa needs to be the agency that you are with. So when you change agencies and you have a visa, you also have to change the sponsor of your visa. So that process can be a little bit complicated, because not only you have to negotiate the contract with the new agency, you also have to make sure that they're going to sponsor your visa. In my case, also, which makes things 100 times easier, I have a green card, which I'm very fortunate about. The process was much simpler. I wasn't tied to an agency because of my visa, so things were so much more manageable. But yeah, that's definitely something to consider if you are an immigrant in the country and you have a visa, a work visa. I also think that it's very important to do the research before. And if you're already talking to another agency, there's nothing wrong with that. People do that all the time. If you have a corporate job and you're moving jobs and you're looking for other jobs, you're talking to other people. There's nothing wrong with talking to other agencies. And since if you are talking with another agency, make sure you are clear about your aspirations, your goals as a model, and make sure you do the research, go on their website, see what models that they have on their board, on that board that you're gonna get signed on. Go to their Instagram. If you feel comfortable enough, message the models that work at that agency and ask what their experience is like. If anybody that's watching this video has a question about my agencies that I worked in the past or my current agency, I'm always gonna answer you on if I see your message on Instagram. So feel free to message, feel free to post on the comments down below if you have any questions, and I'm very happy to help with what I can. Another very important step, and this comes from my own experience. I had jobs from my prior agency that I was still getting paid for. Very important to continue to stay on top of your finances that you have with that agency. I had a job that actually was paying me for like 5 years, which is kind of crazy, through my old agency, because that was the job that I got when I was at that agency. I was still communicating with them every year because it was a hair job that was renewing every year for the usage. So I just really had to stay on top of my finances and not forget to account for those jobs that you still need to get paid, and also for tax purposes. There was one year that my prior agency forgot to share with me my 1099, and that caused me a lot of trouble, but it was also my fault because I forgot to ask them for it. So when you leave an agency, you're probably out of their automated emails. So if you have pending things with the current agency, make sure you stay on top of it, because they probably won't stay on top of it, especially if you're already out in their from their system. So yeah, definitely make sure you have everything either paid before you change agencies, or that you stay on top of your finances, and do not forget to get your 1099s, your checks. Just stay on top of it. Make an Excel sheet or something, write a note, remind yourself every year. The tip that I want people to go home with, it's just really make sure that you're professional and make things respectful. Communicate with them in a respectful, professional way, always. Even when things are not the way you want it, there's no way that you should ever treat an agency disrespectfully, or there's always a professional way of doing things. And that is my tip, and the most important tip that I want you guys to take away with you. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Let me know if you have any questions. Mwah.